So today's session, so I have a session every Friday, and I focus on talent, building a team, talent acquisition. So think about anything that relates to hiring your first employee or team member to hiring your hundredth, right? Just growing it. How do I train them? How do I unfortunately let them let people go? Those are situations that are never fun. But as an owner, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, right, you just have to go through it if you want to be able to kind of scale your business. Unless you want to be a solopreneur and not deal with building a team. But at the end of the day, you're kind of capping yourself, right? So that's usually the next phase of the journey. Once you have your agency, let's say you have your product or service, basically your product planned out, and you're running your authority funnel, and you're getting opportunity, and you're working on it, and you realize, oh my God, I need help. Okay. And now you're at the fork in the road, full-time or contractors, right? And you may already have contractors. Who here has either? Who here has help? And if you could put in the chat, if you do, can you let me know like full time or contractor and then a number? So to let me know like how many you have. Nice. Mario has three contractors. And if you don't have any, just put zero, right? And that's cool. We all start somewhere, right? I started with zero. It was just me. And so Mario, if you don't mind sharing, what kind of contractors do you have? And tell us a little bit more about your agency.
Okay, so I'm very new to Agency U. This is actually my first group call, so hello everyone. I'm excited to
Nice.
be here. First off, my agency is called Dojo Media. What we typically do is work with corporations and more professional businesses. So corporations will be like your Fortune 100 companies. I'm blessed to say we've been able to work with some. And then professional people, your doctors, your lawyers, they don't know a damn thing about social media or content. So we try to
Yeah.
teach them and help them build a bridge. But with the contractors, I mainly have three. Two are really on-site people whenever I need a team when we do these bigger corporate things, and it can't
Okay.
just be me. And we're able
Yeah.
to add it to the budget. They can get their day rate. And then my other one is actually on the back end. He does a lot of my interview editing because interview editing is not really overly intricate. Just make it look good. Two cameras, one A, B, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But obviously looking to expand on that. But it saves a lot of time when you have like 20
Oh yeah,
interviews.
absolutely.
Like, oh, please, I don't want to look at people's faces for 5 hours today. So thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And out of curiosity, do you pay your contractors per project or per hour?
Per project. So
Per
typically
project.
what we'll do is we're going to a project. I'll get the budget together
Yeah.
with the client and get a
Yeah.
estimate, and I will obviously put that estimate within put their rate within the estimate as far as how many estimated hours,
Mm,
all those type of things, and then go from there. I don't know if
mm.
I'm doing it correctly, but that's why we're here with you, Dan. See
Yeah, because well,
if I'm
what if you
messing up.
estimated the hours incorrectly, right?
I say that, and what I'll do is add it on the back end because like,
Uh,
sometimes clients ask for, they think they know on the front end what they want, and then they ask for extra, and I tell them, oh, that's going to cost you extra. So I let them know
nice,
that.
nice. Yeah,
Right.
good old scope creep. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Mario. Thank you for sharing. A quick intro for those that don't know me. So, my name is Dave Lee, and I am the founder of Design Source Media, which is a web design development agency, and also founder of DSM Talent, which started from my agency, which is a staffing company. We help other agencies build a team from the Philippines. So we help recruit and manage team from the Philippines. I started my agency back in 2011, so we just hit our 13-year anniversary. Agency owner, just like everyone else here. I currently manage a team of 15. I'm a husband, father of three kids. So I'm quite busy, but my busyness is really with three kids driving me crazy. So, but still, thank God for my team. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to even spend time here with everyone. Okay. So this is kind of what it looks like. Pain points, right? Hiring challenges for agency owners. Does everyone feel this way? inconsistent contractor quality if you have contractors, fluctuating workloads, high turnover, high hiring costs, right? So these are all the things that typically agency owners will experience. If you haven't experienced it yet, you will eventually. You'll eventually, or you might be going through it right now. Uh, so kind of going back to full-time and contractors, I'll break it down real simple. Pros and cons, right? To hiring full-time. Pros, stability, consistency in that quality, team development, investment in SOPs, in systems, in client relationship building. But the cons is, so there should be an asterisk here, like high fixed costs, and I'll show you later on, and I'll prove it to you why should be an asterisk. Less flexibility, right? It's not like, oh yeah, we need, all of a sudden there's like, I have 6 new projects, I need an extra help. It's hard to like hire full-time help, and then basically you don't want to like just let them go afterwards, right? There's costs in additional training and onboarding costs. And then what about idle time, right? And then retention challenges, like how to keep your team, making sure that they're paid and your team continues to grow, right? So pros and cons to that full time. Now, contractors, it's pretty much a flip of that, right? You got flexibility. There's really little commitment, but also it goes both ways, right? There's little commitment on your end, like, hey, I'll call you when I need you. I'll call you when there's a shoot, but if there's no shoot, no projects, I'm not calling you. Vice versa for them. They're like, okay, well, I'll answer the phone when I want to. I have other clients I got to take care of, so they might not even answer their phone. Cost effective for short-term needs and specialized skills. There may be a unique type of skill set. It might be a certain developer, it might be a certain shooter, just certain type of maybe a drone operator. They have special licenses for certain types of size drones, whatever that is. In that case, you may need a contractor if you don't do that consistently enough. But the con, no control of schedule, right? I mean, just IRS definition, right? As soon as you start controlling them as a contractor, then they're not really a contractor, they're your employee, they're full-time employee. They have divided focus, right? You're typically not their only client. If they are, then they're more like an employee to you, but typically they have to pay their bills too. So they're working on multiple projects and they got to work their schedule, and there's a lot of different things. So they're essentially the business owner themselves. In There could be inconsistent quality, right? You have multiple editors, you have multiple shooters. They're not necessarily trained unless they've been working with you for many, many years. And we'll get to some of that. If you're doing consistent work, that may not be a good fit. But over time, they know what you're looking for and they can be consistent. But in general, this is more general. Contractors are not as consistent. They're not going to focus on your processes. Okay, I'll tell you that now. They're basically, you're going to give them basically, this is how I want this want the end product to be. They're going to give it to you and they're going to move on to something else. They're not going to say, oh hey, Mario, Raphael, this is why I suggest next time we do it. Your process or a shooting would be so much better if we did this and this and this, right? Yes, some contractors may do that. For the most part, they're like, hey, I just want to get paid for this gig and I'm out. Uh, Lack of team integration. Sometimes there's that separation, and we try not to when we have vendors or we have partners or contractors in, but there's still that separation of like, hey, I'm the internal team and you're a contractor. So there's that difference. Turnover can be very high as a contractor. As I mentioned earlier, limited commitment, and they're not really helping to build your team culture, and that's a huge thing. Right now, if it's just you, you are the culture, right? You are the team. But once you start scaling and once you start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you want to get to the point where you're not working in the business, so you can take a vacation, you can go off in the Bahamas or something, and you come back and like, oh wow, the business didn't blow up. There's no fires going. Things are getting done. right? Well, you need stability. You need that team to keep that going. You just can't have, I can't see a team of contractors just keeping your whole organization in order. Okay. You still have to be there. There has to be at least one person to keep that glue together. And usually it's better to have a team of full-time employees to bring that together. Okay. As you scale. Any questions?
Could you also have like a one full-time employee managing all the contractors, or would you just suggest just doing it all full-time?
Absolutely. Yeah, you could start off with one full time, like technically you are the full time in the beginning, right? If you're so here's one strategy. If you're starting something new and you're not sure if this is going to pan out, right? You're creating what I call the MVP, the minimal viable product, right? See, like let's say you're starting a offer that's for short videos or video shorts, and you're not sure if it's going to work out or not. Well, instead of investing all this money into hiring like full-time editors, you might hire a contractor and say, all right, I'm going to see if I can sell this first, get some traction. And then, yeah, you're going to have to put in a little bit more time on finding that right a contractor, video editor. And once you get more traction and you see a clear path of, yeah, this is going to be a really solid offer, there's a lot of demand for it, then I would start converting over to full time. That's what I would do. Okay. Um, or if you know this is gonna work, maybe you've been doing this for a very long time, you have the offer already ready, and you're just buried, right? You're just like, oh my God, I have so much work. I'm killing out there. I want to be able to make and do more sales. At that point, just go straight ahead, full-time hire. Don't worry about contractors, right? Only brand contractors on work that it's not your core, or you have like one-offs, it's not consistent. So next question is like, what are some of the costs, right? And this is just one example of an executive assistant, right? Just a general breakdown. And this is all we're looking at uh for full-time, we're looking at W-2 equivalent. All right. So for a full-time executive assistant, average salary is going to be about 60,000 a year. So to compare apples to apples, we're looking at hourly rate, 31 to $35 an hour. Okay, this is your assistant. Contractor, just straight contractor in the Philippines, you're looking at around 12,000 per year, $5, $6 an hour. You're not they don't get benefits. They're they're essentially either part-time, hourly contractors. Okay. And one of the things that we offer, but you can also set it up yourself, is to offer full-time hires for, in the Philippines, and that's about $16,000 a year. It's a little bit more, around $7 to $10 an hour. Okay. So, but you can see even at this point, it is three times difference, right? This is three times less than a uh full-time hire, right, in the US. Any questions here?
Are those your prices too, or just if in general if we were to go that route?
Yeah, this is actually our price.
Oh,
If
okay.
you were to go with a full-time Filipino hire for an EA, I mean, this is average, right? It depends on their experience, their unique skill set, right? There's a lot of other factors too, but yeah, typically, yeah. So you just take basically 16,000 divided by 12, it's around $1,300, 1350 a month.
Got it.
Okay.
So for EA, like obviously for a lot of people in the US, we kind of like our EAs to kind of be like on hand, like they're with you. What does it
Yeah.
look like for because of the time difference, what does it look like to have an EA in the Philippines?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So with the EA in the Philippines, they work our hours. So I'm in the East Coast. So if you're in the West Coast, I would say they would work like I recommend your time on the West Coast, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Okay. Yes, you can adjust if you like. It depends on each individual. Because with that time, they would be working 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. So they're working the graveyard shift. Um, as far as what they do, obviously they're not there next to you, assisting you on anything like physical there, like moving paperwork, printing, and stuff like that. But come on, who actually prints things
I
out
don't want
nowadays?
that at all.
Right? And we're trying to avoid that as much as possible, right? Like I don't want to print stuff at all. So so everything from my EA, I mean, I've done other sessions too. There's a lot of like recorded sessions on like what our EA does, and I'll do other future sessions of like because that's a whole session in itself. But there's a lot of things like my EA helps plan for like slide decks like this, preparing for meetings. During the meetings, she's taking notes. After the meeting, she's sending meeting notes. She's following up with our prospects, following up with clients. If I need her to send out an invoice, send out weekly emails to our clients. Like there's so many things. Like another big thing, documenting SOPs. I might be driving from here to another site, and on the drive, I'll pick up my phone. I would say to my EA, hey, her name's Sig. Hey Sig, I need you to put this SOP together. I think this would be great for the team. Can you draft something up? Here are the rough steps. And then by the time I arrive at location, draft is already done, already outlined. I just take a look at it. I just send a quick recording on Slack. Everything looks good. I would adjust step three, and then let the team review it and start implementing. Boom, like within by the time I get to the site, like 30 minutes, right? So imagine doing that every single day. I have this huge database of SOPs. And so my EA is constantly helping me, doing stuff like that. Make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Mhm. For like video agencies in particular, let's say there's an emergency, like okay, you're going on site and like oh man, the contractor didn't show up, and you're on site, you're stressed out. You can just ask your EA. Like they're like think of like you're Batman and your EA is like Alfred, right? You're calling in, you're like, hey, I need help here. I need reinforcements. So your EA, she already has a list of contractors, the backups to show on site, like, hey, there's an emergency. Mario needs your help. Can you show up right now? He's at this location, right? Great, confirmed. Boom. Things are moving smoothly, right? So it's like in those cases, you don't need an EA to be there on site. You need them ready, right? You need them have all the information ready to assist you at any given time. I put this small calculator to kind of show financially a full breakdown of when does it make sense and how and why it makes sense to go full time. So, so a little background, as I mentioned earlier, I run a web agency. So this is kind of how I look at things and how I do things from a web agency perspective. Okay. So how to read this. So I compared the contractor in the Philippines and also, full time also in the Philippines. So PH. Okay. Each project it's you can think of your projects as $6,000 per project or a reward for us on average maybe actually this is really our starting point, a web project $6,000. Okay, and per month we're getting about three, right? Let's say three projects. So total project revenue 18,000, right? Everyone following so far? Good. So now we're at $18,000 in revenue a month. So what I do is I take 40%. If I was going full contractor route, I would take 40% of that revenue towards contractors. So think of it this way. So for a web project in particular, I would have a designer, a developer, and then there's extras like a quality assurance person, a project manager, and a little extra. So usually the designer, they're taking 15 to 20%, the developer 15 to 20%, and then the QA person, the project manager, they're taking the last like 10%. Okay. So that adds up to 40%. So now if I add that up, now the contractor expense is $7,200 for these three projects for this month. Okay. Everyone following so far? So now let's shift over here on the full-time side. Let's say the average full-time hire right? I bumped it up a little bit, not 1350, but 1600 because we're hiring technical hires now. There's a difference versus like EAs. So they're a little more expensive. So $1,600 a month times three, it's at 4,800 now a month. So if you have consistent work, right, at 3 projects a month, right, your net profits, it's more on a full-time basis. Okay. So now let's run on some other scenarios. Okay. Let's say you don't have 3 projects, right? At 6,000 a month or $6,000 per project. Let's say you have two. At this point, it breaks even, right? Now let's say you only have one project. You're just starting. You have one project. Okay. At this point, yeah, your net profit, it makes more sense as a contractor, right? So this is a very simple way, I put together to kind of visually see the finance breakdown, the dollar breakdown of contractor versus full-time hire. Okay, makes sense? Everyone following so far? So now, once you go beyond three, really go beyond two is a no-brainer, right? You go five, right? Now it's just now keep in mind there is a limit, right? Of how many people, but this scales at 40%, right? But this is going to be your net profits won't be as much, right, over time. But also keep in mind this number will increase a little bit. But here's the big difference that's not in the dollars. You're not building your team. Your engine's not getting faster. It's not getting optimized. Your system's not getting better, right? So the next thing you know, if you stick with this for a longer time period, you're just going to have a team of contractors that's really kind of like shaky, right? Wheels are going to come off and there's going to be little fires that start up, right? Because contractor A didn't show up. Now you need contractor B, right? So now you're still losing stability. Like, I mean, maybe you like working in that lifestyle, but I don't now with 3 kids, right? I want stability, right? Like I want to be as chill as possible. I want to just get to the point where I sit on the board and I have a CEO, I have a president running the organization, right? So like think of it that way, right? So at what point does it make sense for you? I get asked a lot, this very thing, right? Like full-time versus contractors all the time, you know? And it took me a while to come up with something like this and to just show everyone from a finance perspective.
Just for context, I've already tapped Dave and DSM to get my EA on my team. We're in the process of, they've already endorsed somebody. Dave, I'm going to selfishly ask a question here. I don't know if you saw my last email. I'm wondering if I'm being too picky because I think this recent endorsement could actually work out. Maybe I'm just a little like anxious about actually stepping into it, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
First hire is always tough. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's just like, do you feel like those first, what is the experience of that first EA and then handing off sort of those first few tasks? Is like, what can we expect there?
Hmm. So the first EA, first task, I would say first EA should be all about training, onboarding. Okay. Making sure that you set this a good foundation, right? We have our 30, 60, 90-day onboarding document. So making sure that you follow that, right? And I have a copy of it in the agency um, one of the training videos, and make sure you follow that. And then as far as the task goes, start with something simple. As an EA, one of the first things I would do is delegating your inbox, right? And it may be personally hard for you to let that go, right? It's so private. It's like all your emails are there, and it can be very personal too. But letting that first piece go is key. Okay. And once you feel comfortable enough, remove the email app off your phone on the front home screen, at least. You don't have to uninstall it, just to take it off your home screen. Okay. And then over time, you'll check your emails less and less because you're making, your EA will be doing that for you. Okay. So make sure that your EA is really adding value and giving you back your time. Okay. So that would be one of the first tasks I would have the EA do. After the initial training, really understanding about, your clients, your values, your core values, your mission, your vision, all those things, right? You want to provide clear direction of what your organization is all about and what you expect of him or her. Okay. Make sense?
Yeah, that document you said 30, 60, 90.
Yep.
Where can I reference that?
Yeah. Here, let me show you. This is what it looks like. Okay, so everyone else can see it too. This is our 30, 60, 90, right? And the first 30 days is about learning. The next 30 days is about implementing. And the final 60 and 90 days is about optimizing what they've learned and implemented. One mistake a lot of owners make, because there's just so gung-ho about like, oh man, a new hire, I gotta maximize their, their time here and start making them do a lot, right? The problem with that is that they don't have the foundations yet. Okay. So if you make someone trying to run, next thing you know, like they're tripping on, they don't have they're gonna get hurt. Right. So make sure you have the learning process down. So we have it broken down day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way down the first 10 days. And then we have weeks broken down afterwards. So it's a mixture of mindset training, learning about the organization, the mindset, and then some technical skills. Okay. Because for us, it's important to get into the mindset before we go deep into all the work that we'll be doing. Because if they're not mentally prepared, right, they're gonna fail. Right. So I think of us as like, okay, well, we're like a firefighting team, or we're like the SWAT team. They don't want to be learning while the building is on fire, right? But we need to simulate that as much as possible in a safe, controlled environment, and it can be repeated multiple times. So that's how we do that.
I have so many questions, but obviously it's my first time being here, so I'm gonna not overwhelm you and I'm gonna be patient. But
No
one of the
worries.
things that I see is that obviously there's a timeline. I'm trying to figure out like what would it look like for an agency that doesn't have a lot of SOPs and systems in place. What is that timeline to transition to actually having an EA? Because right now, although I know that I can get some use out of having an EA, I
Yeah.
want to have structure, enough structure and foundational things there where they can be ingratiated into culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, totally get it. I would say I would start off with make sure you have your mission, vision, and core values. Like just all about, like what your organization is all about. And I would say know what your offer is, and getting to that point where you're getting traction. Okay. So there's the bare basics. Once you have that, you don't have to have a lot of SOPs. Really, you don't have that many, because at that point, in particular, when your first hire should be an EA, this is a hack. You hire your EA, and your EA is helping you build your SOPs. Right. So at that point, you don't have to wait until you have this huge knowledge base of SOPs. As long as you have your mission, vision, core values, and you know what your offer is, and it's working, you're getting traction, then you're fine. You should hire your EA as soon as possible. Because if you wait any longer, then you're going to get buried with more work. And then when will you have time to train? You need time to train. You need time to develop your team members so they can start helping you. Okay.
Thank
So is that careful balance? Uh, any other questions?
Yeah. So, what sort of skill sets can we expect them to have? when they joined us?
For an EA?
Mhm.
Yeah, so it depends on the agency. So, for example, if you're more leaning towards well, it depends on what you need as an agency, as a business owner too. So in general, all EAs should be able to manage your schedule, manage your calendar, manage your emails, right? The basic stuff. And then you have certain skill sets that EAs will have that really complement what you need. So for example, you might need an EA to help you on social media. Well, then you want to find an EA with social media experience, maybe helping someone manage their Facebook page, their Twitter, not Twitter, but yeah, Twitter account or X account, or their TikTok account. So having a social media experience. You might have an EA that you want to help you with your invoicing. So having some billing, understanding some basic accounting is important for that. So it's like it depends on what you're looking for. And so an EA is still a pretty broad term, but just think of your EA is focused on helping with you and in particular what your main needs are. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I guess I've been kind of lost, like, what is the limit I can ask them to do and everything. But yeah, like that makes sense. Like if we can like see if specific EAs have like specialization kind of.
Yeah, don't try to
Yeah.
clone anyone
Hmm.
like to yourself. Like everyone here is like a unicorn, okay? Like
Hmm.
if you try to clone yourself, then it's impossible. Okay, I'll just say that
Yeah.
outright. It's impossible. You cannot clone yourself. Nor do you really want to. I don't want to clone myself. Okay, I don't. So I want people that are better than what I do, right? Because they're spending more time, they have more knowledge in different areas. So to a point where if you ask your EA to do basically everything that you do, they're going to be jack of all trades and master of none. So yes, your EA can help you a lot. So let's say, for example, I'll give you an example of putting together a proposal. Well, you're not, I wouldn't ask my EA to kind of go into the specifics of putting together all the details of, let's say, this project. It might be a video project, it might be a web project, all the little technical nuances that I spent 13 plus years of my life, knowing all the little nuances and things to like hurdles and holes to kind of avoid, holes to avoid, right? I wouldn't be able to train all that to my EA. However, what I can do is build tools for my EA to follow to work on basically 80% of the projects, being able to quote. And maybe here's a process. The proposal's already put together. The client, as soon as the client approves, I want you to copy this information, put it into our proposal system, and then send it over to our new client and have them sign the contract. Really straightforward, standard SOPs, right? In the beginning. And then after a while, they've been working for you for 6 months to a year. I'm constantly in one-on-ones, with my team members. So they may tell me, like, this area looks really interesting to me. Oh, this other area looks really interesting to me. That's career development. So I've promoted my EAs, from starting with an EA to a designer to project manager to a director of ops. So all sorts of roles, promotion, career opportunities for them. But it's their choice. They got to choose, right? We're in a really awesome position. We're a small agency. We're starting at one, right? And so we have pretty much unlimited opportunities. And that's one of the things that I share, with the talents that we bring on. It's not like we're some ginormous marketing agency or agency that's already in place and there's really limited growth. Well, I don't want to take too much of everyone's time. I have these Friday sessions, so if you have any questions, feel free to message me. I'm obviously in agency U, so you can DM me, you can message me anything, any questions that you have. And also if there's any topics you want me to cover, let me know. Right, I'll have that in one of the polls, and if it wins, I'll end up doing that.